Hello all. So today I'm going to be talking about transition and detransition from the butch lesbian perspective. And the reason I'm choosing to speak on this is because I would say the last year maybe, I've been co-facilitating a support group for lesbians and bisexual women who struggle with gender dysphoria. And I have learned just so much from that group. It's a peer-led group and, all just trying to help each other. But the knowledge I've gained from that, I think, is just so important. And God, I wish like some people in mental health would like pick this up. I wish they would talk to us, and I wish the homosexual experience was really explored more in the whole trans debate. It's explored somewhat, but it's not really talked about a whole lot. It's not really explored a whole lot. The focus really does seem to be on youth transition, and that's fine, but that's why I'm speaking, because this is an important aspect too. And this is important to me. So, the butch lesbian experience. The thing I find most striking is that even with 20 years difference between, say, me and a young woman who's come to the support group, we share so many similarities behind our feelings, thoughts, and reasons for transition that it's definitely worth noting. And the overarching reason that we chose to transition is because we thought we were men. We thought we had the male brain in the female body. And the reason we thought that is because of homophobia, both internalized and external, and misogyny. It's because, and it's worth noting that most of these women that I am talking about right now, that I know, are butch lesbians, or would be categorized as at least gender nonconforming. We often get mistaken for being men. We get shit from both women and men because of the way we look. So we're all pretty similar. We're gender nonconforming. We don't look like women. So anyways, but we've all taken a lot of hits since we were kids for being gender nonconforming. We've been ridiculed, we've been harassed, we've been bullied, we've been told we were wrong, gross, ugly, because we do not perform femininity correctly as we should, because we don't want our hair long, because we don't want to be princesses, because we want to wear clothes that are categorized for men and boys, because we aren't comfortable wearing makeup. There's all of the performative stuff that goes along with what's categorized as being a woman. And the other thing I've noticed is the vast majority of us come from very religious backgrounds. We come from families that were conservative, and that are evangelical Christians. And that's definitely worth noting too, because we grew up with homophobia. And let's make very clear here that homophobia is pervasive in our society. It just is. It's gotten better. I'm not going to say it hasn't gotten better. I've lived long enough to see a big difference in my own community in the last 20 years, okay? However, it still exists. It's still very real. And this goes across the board for both liberal and conservatives. Although liberals will maybe be a little easier on it, the vast majority of liberal parents still really don't want their kids to be gay, or they at least don't want their kids to be super gender nonconforming. But the vast majority of us butch lesbians who transitioned, or gender nonconforming lesbians who transitioned, came from evangelical backgrounds. So we were getting shit real early. We were getting told we were, even before we understood what was going on, we knew that our feelings were wrong, right? We knew that what we were thinking and feeling was evil, was going to make us, was going to maybe send us to hell. We were disgusting. And many of us have taken abuse from our families because of it, and from adults in our lives, from the kids around us. I mean, I can say that my gender nonconformity, as far as I know, started pretty young. 3 or 4, I was already fighting wearing dresses and stuff like that, which there's a lot of reasons you could fight wearing a dress, but anyways, and I was getting bullied by my peers in school starting around 8 years old, for behaving like a boy. I was told by my peers that I was acting like a boy, that I wanted to be a boy, and made fun of for wanting to be a boy when I was obviously girls. Like, don't do that, it's gross. I took harassment and abuse from my mother because I didn't behave like a girl. It was very clear to me that my existence as I was wrong. And that's a fundamental thing I've seen that stretches through the generations when it comes to lesbians that transition. The fundamental belief that we're wrong. We are wrong. And why are we wrong? We want to know why we're wrong, and we don't want to be wrong. And transition answers that. It really does. The other thing that I've noticed being very common among the butch lesbians that transition versus everybody else that transitions, generally, gay men aside, is that we transition to blend in. We transition to not be seen. We don't want to stand out. The vast majority of us, from this is my perspective, this is what I have come in contact with, the vast majority of us seem to have been stealth, meaning we weren't out as trans to many people. We tried to hide the fact that we were born female and that we were trans. We tried to just pass as men and live as men. We also, most of us were what they call trans medical. We believed that it was an innate problem between our brain and body, and that we should medically transition to alleviate that discomfort. And most of us have had what would be categorized as gender dysphoria from a very young age. And this is a very important things to consider. And this is why I think when you look at the similarities, you start to see that there's a pattern. It's such a clear pattern to why lesbians transition, especially in gender nonconforming butch lesbians transition. And the reason is internalized homophobia, external homophobia, and misogyny. These are the things. You can trace these all back to that. I would bet good money that the vast majority of homosexual women who transition, that's the reason they're transitioning. Is that the only reason? There's not a single cause, but this is a very big and impactful cause for transition. And I want that known, and I wish it was studied, and I want it understood, and I want the lesbians to be heard on this too. Thanks for listening.